landlord, there are some differences to be worked out.
Yeah, the House and Senate are ready to go into conference. There are a few budget differences as far as we are concerned from the cattle industry side. The Cattle Enhancement Board, which funds our research projects, still the Senate has $1 million in their budget for that program. The House has yet to fund it, which is where we've been for the last 4 years as we go into the conference process. And the Senate has funded land conservation programs at $50 million through the Division of State Lands, and they're looking at the Rural Family Land Type Program. They're not funding the Division of Agriculture, though. They're funding through DEP. The House has $100 million for their programs. So there are some differences to be worked out, and we think they will. They're really not that far apart, and they will work that out over the next week.
So basically, with 3 weeks left to go on the session, we're just kind of getting down to the nitty-gritty on everything right now, aren't we?
Yeah, that's the way the system is designed to work. Most of the bills are passed during the last week, but that gives a chance for the committee process to work and for differences to be worked out.
The Florida legislative session is scheduled to end April 30th. Learn more about this on our website, southeastagnet.com.
For generations, we've worked the land. We've faced hardships and uncertainty before, but you can depend on Florida's farmers. We will continue to rise before dawn and harvest our crops, ensuring that Florida-grown fruits and vegetables are in your stores and that your family is fed. We are providers for our families and yours. We're Florida's farmers, and we're in this together.
Randall Wiseman, Southeast AgNet.
When it really counts, depend on the source for the latest weather updates, keeping you ahead of the storm. 96.3 FM, 1370 AM, The Source.
We can expect a brief morning shower. Otherwise, after a cloudy start, we'll have sunshine with a high of 82 to 86. Mainly clear tonight, low 55 to 61. And a nice day Tuesday with sunshine mixing with some clouds. High tomorrow 86 to 89. Wednesday, look for some sunshine, then turning cloudy. High on Wednesday, 85 to 88. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm Holly Holdren.
The Ocala Golf Club, one of Ocala's premier golf courses, from its pristine 18-hole course layout to its amazing pro shop. Jason Linhart and the staff at Ocala Golf offer everything that you need for your golf outing. That's the Ocala Golf Club. Experience country club style golf at municipal prices. You won't go wrong with the Ocala Golf Club. Call them for a tee time today, 352-401-6917.
This is Ocala Talks with Tom Schmidt, bringing stories that are important to our community in and around Ocala. Plus, of course, a splash of sports as well. Now, here's your host, Tom.
Is this thing on? Is this on? Hello? Good Monday morning. Welcome to Ocala Talks. That's right, I am your host, Tom Schmitz. After a 2-week and 6-day hiatus, tomorrow will be 3 weeks to the day that I experienced the most pain I've ever experienced in my life. We'll get into that later in the show today, but I know right now, brought to you by the good folks at Palm Garden Health and Rehabilitation Center, located on 2700 Southwest 34th Street. They offer skilled nursing, physical, occupational, and speech therapy. If you have any questions how they're handling COVID-19, give them a call at 352-854-6262. Also, Penn Flooring is a family-owned and operated. Look, I'm sitting down, so this is new to me, folks. Penn Flooring is family-owned and operated, serving Marion County for over 30-plus years. They're a full-service flooring company that do both commercial and residential. Go see their showroom at 1201 Southwest 17th Street in Ocala, or give them a call at 352-351-3420. I tell you that because that means that our sponsorship by those two people, by those two groups, are bringing to you a guy who I bet it's been, difficult for the last 2 weeks, having to deal with a guy who sports is not his mantra. Joe Martone filled in admirably for me as I was out for 3 weeks, but it's got to be good news to Galen Unal because he came back from Costa Rica, and I wasn't here. Good morning, Galen.
Hey, what's going on, man? We haven't talked in a long time. I hope all is well.
You left to go to Costa Rica, and I left to go under the knife.
That's it. That's right. That's right.
How was Costa Rica, pal?
It's the best vacation I've ever been on. And I said this when I came back. I've counted. I've been over, I think it's 57. Some of the countries have changed.
You're a world traveler. You're a world traveler.
Yeah, and Costa Rica is the most beautiful country I've been to outside of the United States. It's, up until then it was the Philippines is there are some spectacular places in the Philippines, but Costa Rica had it all. I mean, it has it all.
I will tell you, I've not traveled as extensively as you have, but I've taken two trips into Europe, and did the family tree, Germany, Italy, that area, and then did Scotland. I actually did 12 weeks in Scotland in a student exchange with the University of Edinburgh and Georgia Southern back in the early 90s. So I've been into some Europe and everything, but I've been to Costa Rica 3 different times. Like I told you before you went, I have a friend who went down there on spring break, and he's never come back.
I can see why. I can see why.
He was 20 years old, junior in college, never came back. That was 30 years ago. But to me, history-wise, because I'm the history guy, you can't beat Italy because of just the Western civilization as we know it really began in Greece and Italy. You can argue one way or the other, but Western civilization as we know it, as the Christian faith knows it, as the non-Islamic faith knows it, really began in Greece and Italy. The education, the saving of documents, book writing, book copying, that all started in that area. So history-wise, I love that area, but you're 100%. In all my travels, the only place that I've seen that is nicer than Costa Rica is some of our wonderment here in the United States.
Yeah, you can't compare it to the U.S. The U.S. has everything.
No.
Everything that's in Costa Rica, you could find in the U.S. I mean, but again, Costa Rica, it was, 5 microclimates. It had it all.
Well, that's why I love. That's why I love. People say, "What is it about the state of Georgia you love so much?" And it's
Sure.
it's the you got the ocean in Georgia with Tybee Island and Savannah and Brunswick, and you got the swamps in Georgia with the Okefenokee and everything. Then you got the plains, like the plain states. You go over to Southwest Georgia, they're fields of soybean and just the peanuts and everything, just massive fields like the plains. Then you go up to North Georgia, you got the mountains, just like you would have in the Smoky Mountains, because it is part
and
of
the banjos.
Yeah,
and the banjos. Don't forget the banjos.
And by the way, Tallulah Gorge is called the Grand Canyon of the East. You go to Tallulah Gorge, that's where they filmed. When you see the movie Deliverance and they're going through that gorge area down there thing, that's Tallulah Gorge in Georgia. That's what I love about Georgia. Georgia's got every basically except buttes. They don't have the desert buttes. But other than that, everything you can think of in the United States, you can find in the state of Georgia. And that's...
Yeah. The only, again, Florida's got a ton of those things too. California, you can live in San Diego and go snow skiing in the morning and then go surfing in the afternoon.
100%.
And it could be a beautiful 82 degrees. But yeah, again, there's no comparison to any country in the world to the United States.
If you've not been to the Ravine Gardens in Palatka, you're missing out, because that's a big gorge.
It's true.
With the flowers are in bloom and everything. You can't. That's one of the nicest places in this area, and it's in Palatka, right next to the golf course, by the way.
That's correct. That's right. If you could call that a golf course.
Hey, by the way, hold on. Palatka's in great shape right now, and it's in fantastic shape right now.
It's spring.
And
every course in Florida is perfect.
Here's the thing about Palatka, is I love people who've never played Palatka, and they're good golfers. I've won probably $700-800 on this one bet right here. I'll take a guy.
Though, Tom.
Well, it is Palatka. It is Palatka. Calm down.
I mean, that wind will change, and all of a sudden you think you're going to hurl.
There is a reason it's called P-Latka. So,
Oh, and it's that, the paper plant.
But Georgia Pacific's right there. It's horrible. It's horrible. Believe me, I know. I lived over there in the Hawthorne area, Interlochen area for 15 years. I know. So, but this bet I make with people about this golf course, and you played Palatka. I'm sure you played it once or twice in your lifetime.
It's been a long time, but I have. Yeah.
But it from the tips, it's 6,000 yards. From the tips.
It's long. It's long.
It's 6,000.
Some elevation change.
Right, but it's a very short course. At 6,000 yards from the tips, Muni from the tips is a short course, and it's 6,600 yards. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Palatka from the tips is 6,000 yards. And I tell people, I get my buddies that are 3, 4, 5 handicaps, and they've never played Palatka. I ain't playing that goat farm. I said, I'll tell you what, I bet $100 you don't break 77. And it's only 6,000 yards, but you can't have it. I'm not going to help you on any of the holes, but I bet you $100 you can't break 77. And I'll get these guys that shoot 72, 73. Oh, 6,000 yards, I'll break 70. That's a bet. Then they go over there and shoot 81 or 82 because they hit the ball out of bounds on 6 different holes because they don't know.
So many blind shots.
Exactly.
Yeah, everything, and nothing is straight.
Nothing.
Yeah, there's some, it's gimmicky. They have that, that back-to-back dog leg left into a dog leg right, if I remember right. And then there's that par 3 that it's like 128 yards.
It was built by, it's the oldest golf course in Florida, by the way.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's the oldest open golf course in Florida. Donald Ross built that golf course in like 1920.
Yeah, I knew it was a Ross design. I didn't know it was the oldest.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't for a while. It wasn't because Keystone was older, but it's now not an original Donald Ross anymore. And Ponce de Leon was older, but it's closed now. And Hyde Park was built a year after Palatka. Hyde Park is a Donald Ross design up in Jacksonville.
Sure.
So it's built by the guy who built Pinehurst No. 2. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah. So speaking of golf.
Wait, was there a tournament this week? Was there a tournament this weekend?
How much better is it in the spring compared to what it was?
Okay, first off, I got 2 words that explain all that for you. Azalea dogwoods.
Well, and everything was greener, and I think it's because it didn't feel like the Masters in September.
No, they shot 20 under. Who shoots 20 under in the Masters?
Yeah. What, he finished at 22?
Well, it was the ryegrass. It was the ryegrass.
Yeah. The balls held. And yesterday, I think I texted you at the turn. I said, this is over.
You said this is over at the turn. And then you almost had to eat crow.
Yeah, well, because it's Augusta, right? And it's the Masters. You know it's going to close up. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm going to regret this. But he was playing so good. Hideki was playing so good. I was like, there's nothing. And then he gets a little loose, right?
And then Schauffele
makes that
4 birdies. Four holes in a row where he was. And then he gets to 16. Is it safe to say, even though Matsuyama was up by 2 strokes, he was reeling?
Yeah.
Okay? Is it safe?
Absolutely.
Can I say that Xander Schauffele gagged away a chance to win the Masters?
No, because of the apparently that breeze just killed that ball, and he had to go for the pin, right? So he could.
Yeah, he had to go for it.
He had to go for it because he's down 2 with 3 to play, and he knew that if he got it close, then the pressure was really going to be on him. But I just think the wind knocked that ball down. It was a gust of wind right as he hit, according to Dottie Pepper, and that was it. It was absolutely over at that point.
Oh, done. He takes a triple bogey on the hole, and then how good is this kid Zalatoris? He's 5'9", 151 pounds, hitting the ball 300 yards, and nothing seemed to flap this kid. He knew he probably wasn't going to win, but he was slow and steady the whole week.
Well, that's just it, and that's the kind of. He's got the kind of game that could win him a U.S. Open. But he didn't make the shot when he needed to make it. But that's the first time he played it in the Masters, and that matters.
Are you ready? Here's the stat. Here's the stat of the week they gave us at the Masters. On Saturday, I'm watching the Masters on moving day, and they gave us a stat about Zalatoris. You ready for this? 24 months ago to the day. This is what they said on CBS. 24 months ago to the day. Zalatoris was ranked 2,113th in the world in golf.
Wow. He played out of his mind. He did play really well, and apparently this guy's here to stay. So we'll see. And then, again, what's great about Augusta and the Masters is the leaderboard. Every name on there. 90%, 99% of them. This year we didn't know Zalatoris. Nobody knew who that kid was. You have to be an absolute golf junkie to know who that kid was. But Justin Rose, I think everybody knew he was gonna fade.
He's a friend. Is it safe to say Justin Rose is like a rabbit on a horse race? Like is Justin Rose that horse at the Kentucky Derby that they put in the 4-hole because he's going to get out there and he's going to set the pace of the race, but he's about halfway through, he's going to fall off because his job is just to get him running?
That 8-hole stretch he had on Thursday
was amazing.
Was almost as good as Hideki Matsuyama. I can't say his name.
Hideki Matsuyama's
on Saturday. His final 4 holes on Saturday, the tournament was over.
The golf course, you talk about moving day. With 4 holes to play, Justin Rose was up by a stroke. At the end of the day, Justin Rose was down by 3. And it was in 4 holes.
Yeah, correct. It was it's always the tournament, the course is always the centerpiece
100%
of the Masters.
100%.
It's unlike any other tournament. I get it sometimes in the U.S. Open. We talk more about the course than the players. But Augusta, year after year, and I think it's because we know it so well.
Yeah.
You've been fortunate enough to walk it. I haven't. But we know it intimately. We know what's facing every one of those players when they make that turn. When they have to stand over that tee shot at 16. We know the history at 16, whether it's Jack Nicklaus, whether it's, that was when it was completely over for Greg Norman. We know that history, and you bring it with you every round. And one of the commentators said something really smart. He said, you play this course enough and you develop scar tissue.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly what it is. And I think Jordan Spieth's got major scar tissue right now.
Yeah, it's called the 12th hole. Hey, Galen, we got to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more about this. Plus, we'll get into the name of the golf tournament and why that causes people some consternation. We'll talk about that next. You're listening to 1370 AM, 96.3 FM. This is WOCA, The Source.
We face choices every day. Some are unimportant, some are life-changing. What about the choices you make every day? Take the stairs or the elevator, baked or fried. What if your choices meant you are likely to die of heart disease this year? Palm Garden of Ocala is here for you when recovering from a hospital stay. With Palm Garden's Fast Track program and state-of-the-art facility, we have skilled nursing, therapy, and everything you'd expect for the best in care. Call 352-854-6262 for more information.
Hi, this is JP from Penn Flooring here in Ocala. I would like to invite you to come in and visit our spacious showroom where we have solutions for every style and budget. From wall-to-wall carpet to hardwood floors and tiles, we have an unsurpassed selection of flooring. At Penn Flooring, we've provided quality customer service with a family touch for over 25 years. Visit our website at pennflooring.com or come by our showroom, 1201 Southwest 17th Street, just over the bridge. Penn Flooring, quality customer service with a family touch.
It's Monday. Not sure how you did it, but you actually survived an entire 2 days without hearing from Tom. Good job to you. And once again, good luck.
It was actually not 2 days. You've survived without Tom for 20 days. 20. I didn't come in Monday 3 weeks ago because I was laid up in the hospital with surgical issues. Galen, was just coming back from Costa Rica then. Galen, let's talk for a minute about the golf tournament we were just referring to, the Masters, and how there's some concern that the name may need to go.
Well, first of all, I think everybody needs to know what the name actually means. It's the Masters of Golf. The whole tournament was created so that only the very best would play in this tournament. It's an invitation. And there's a very strict set of standards as to be able to play Augusta, which is why it's the most unique field. It's not the best field.
No, the best field's at the Players Championship.
Correct, without a doubt. But there's a very select group that is allowed to play at Augusta at the Masters, and that's why it's called the Masters. And again, you weren't here, but these people need to quit. This whole cancel culture. I've hated it from day one. Again, it's ridiculous.
I could not agree with you more with this cancel culture idiocracy is the only thing I can say it is, because I say this constantly and people don't seem to get it. You cannot use the morals of today to police yesterday.
No.
You can't do it.
Different world.
It's a different world.
And as a person of color, you can't blame everyone for what was done to your ancestors 200 years ago.
No,
you
because
just can't.
By the way,
my mama told me that at a very early age.
You want to talk about some people and look, not making light of slavery. It was a terrible, terrible institution that this country not only welcomed but used diligently for over 150, 200 years from its inception until the Civil War, where the emancipation happened. But you want to talk about people who were also subjected to just a horrible existence? Andrew Jackson, the President of the United States, said that the worst thing on the human earth, the worst thing on earth were the Indian savages. He instituted the Trail of Tears, where 6 to 7 million Native Americans died as they were being marched, like the Baton March, actually, all the way to Oklahoma from the East Coast, because Jackson hated the Native Americans. He had fought them as he was growing up as a boy and all on the frontier of Tennessee, and he had a hatred for the Native Americans that subjected them to undue punishment, death, and degradation. And, whether you like it or whether you like slavery or not, and I know people don't. I know slavery is something that's abhorrent. So is the way the Native Americans were treated in this country. By the way, their country, not ours, that we tricked them out of with a case of booze, some shiny stones, and a couple of army blankets.
Hey, look, don't put beads in front of me, man. I'll give up everything.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and again, as I tell people, the real travesty is still going on. If you've never been to a reservation,
it's a third world country.
It's horrific.
It's a third world country.
Can live in that.
You go to a U.S. Indian reservation. It's a third out in Arizona, out in Oklahoma. It's a third world. It's a third world country.
Terrible.
Somebody goes, well, the Seminoles are doing pretty good. Yeah, for every one Seminole Indian that's doing great with the casinos, I'll go show you a group of Apaches or Arapahoes and all that are out on the reservation out west that are barely making ends meet.
Well, there's a reason the Seminoles, the very name Seminole is theirs, because they refused to go on the march.
They refused. They went to the swamps of South Florida.
Group of Indians. That's right. And that's where they stayed. And it's just, in my tribe in North Carolina did the exact same thing. We ran into the swamps. There are swamps in North Carolina, people. And went into the Lumbee River, and we broke off from the main tribe of the Croatan Indians, and we went there, and then the 99% of the Croatans went on the march. So, and they were called Cherokees, and that's where the term Cherokee came from, because they just threw everybody in that group, and then anybody who says they're a Cherokee, that's like calling somebody European.
Right. Yeah.
So,
yeah. Everybody's got Cherokee blood in them. If you want to know, everybody.
That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. But,
So when we start talking about people of color, let's not forget the Indians, the Native Americans of this country were treated, terrible. Remember, people don't realize this. Everybody was talking about, and I'm, of Italian heritage. I've got friends Italian. Okay, I abhor Christopher Columbus, but that's because I understand the history. So when Italian, Christopher Columbus, no, he's a horrible human being. Okay, just clear that up. Horrible human being.
I think you're putting your morality of today on.
No. The reason I say that is He went to the West Indies. They came out with baskets of food and all to give him, a welcome and everything. He just said, mow them down, get rid of them. We don't know if they're safe or not, just kill them.
Correct, yeah. Yeah, and I part of me, he actually never stepped foot on the United States.
Nope, never did.
Jamaica. He went to Costa Rica. I don't know. I try not to judge people like that. So, it is our history. It's there for you. And I do not like interpreting people's motives. I don't blame him for mass genocide. I'll put it that way.
No, I don't believe that everybody says Christopher Columbus.
He took over. As I say, the battle of the culture was won by Western civilization. I mean, my people didn't even have the wheel. So, we weren't an advanced society.
But however,
people try to throw certain virtuousness and great things on a group of people. Their culture lost. And trust me, the culture lost. Yes, we were dominated by not a larger force, but a better armed force.
Thank you.
But we lost that culture.
Well, that's the thing.
That culture
if you go look at the Incan and the Mayan, go look at the Incan civilization and everything, they were very advanced. But war-wise, they did not have the artillery that the Spanish and the Portuguese had, and so their culture lost.
Yeah, but I also think that was dying from underneath because of the type of government or lack thereof their structural society lost. And they were so spread out. And
it was way spread out.
Yeah. And again, the Western civilization of culture had something to offer that these tribes didn't.
Hey,
and I think that's the end of I think that's the way it worked out.
Galen, we're up against a break. Can I hold you over for a little bit? So, because I got to talk to you about.
Of course.
I got to talk to you about this thing last night, and there's an undefeated team still in baseball. We got to talk about a lot. Okay, I'll hold you over. Galen, from Life South. We'll be right back after this timeout on WOCA, The Source.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
USA Radio News with Lance Pry.
The White House has begun flying unaccompanied minors across the country to emergency housing facilities as it struggles from the self-induced chaos at the southern border. Iowa's Republican Governor Kim Reynolds is now the first to refuse the Biden administration's plea to provide temporary housing. This is not our problem, Reynolds said, adding that the state does not have any temporary facilities to lend to the Department of Housing and Human Services. This is the president's problem, end quote. Representative Dan Kershaw, Republican from Texas, is having surgery on his left eye, which will leave him effectively blind for a month. Iranian officials said the Natanz uranium enrichment plant was a target of a nuclear terrorism on Sunday, after initially reporting a power failure. U.S. intelligence officials are reporting that a large explosion had completely destroyed the independent internal power system that supplied the centrifuges inside the underground facility. They estimate it could take up to 9 months to resume enrichment there. USA Radio News.
Hey everybody, if you've ever thought about heirloom beans as a storable survival food, I've got great news. In fact, I'll bet it's the best news you've heard in a while. Here's the thing, we've just received a fresh batch of gourmet heirloom beans, survival soup beans. These beans are gorgeous, highly nutritious, and above all, with no hesitation whatsoever, the best tasting beans in the entire world. The best part? We've dropped the price by 33% this week for listeners who know higher food prices are coming and want an inflation hedge you can actually eat if you want to. It gets even better. With your permission and with a high regard for your health and well-being, I also want to send you 2 pounds of what we think is the single most underrated superfood in the world, period. Go to soupbeansurvival.com, that's soupbeansurvival.com, and discover the real reason we're giving this unusual superfood away at soupbeansurvival.com, that's soupbeansurvival.com.
Friday, April 16th at 9 a.m., Elizabeth and Tonya, along with their partners Julie and Jen from the Early Learning Coalitions of Marion County, will be guests to tell us about developmental screenings, referrals, and who they are for. Resources for families in our communities. Bright Future starts with preparation now. And that is what the Early Learning Coalition does. Good beginnings equal great endings. We all benefit from that greatness. So be sure to tune in each Friday at 9 a.m. for early learning right here on The Source.
Well, the new year is upon us, and that means getting to those forgotten projects that you promised you would. So whether you're tackling a small honey-do list or building the Taj Mahal, Sunbelt Rentals will help you get the job done right with the right tools. From carpet cleaners to excavators, Sunbelt Rentals has what you need. So what are you waiting for? Get it done. Rent it now from Sunbelt Rentals, located on Highway 27, just a half-mile east of I-75, or visit sunbeltrentals.com. Get it done. Rent it now. Sunbelt Rentals.
Sun and Fun's Aerospace Expo is back and better than ever from April 13th through the 18th. It's not just an air show, it's everything aviation in 2021. And you don't want to miss it. Join fellow aviation enthusiasts as we watch mighty warbirds in flight, vintage bombers to modern fighter jets, and our headlining act, the Blue Angels, as they celebrate their 75th anniversary, where they'll unveil their newest Super Hornet. Watch the night sky gleam with our first ever amazing drone light show, aerobatic flyers, a fireworks display, and Wall of Fire. Our event takes place on 1,000 spacious outdoor acres at the Lakeland Linder International Airport, where you'll have a front row ticket to all the action at Sun and Fun's world-famous showcase of the past, present, and future of aviation. Children under 10 are free, so make plans to bring the whole family and experience 6 exciting days of the Sun and Fun Aerospace Expo. For ticket information and show schedules, visit us at flysnf.org.
Tick-tock. The days fly by, and we find tax season is upon us once again. Not to worry, though. With a reputable CPA firm on your side, you can rest assured that all of your needs will be handled in a professional and thorough manner. Robson, Scribner & Stewart is just that firm. They're there for their clients year-round, not just during tax season, to handle your needs and answer any questions you may encounter. At Robson, Scribner & Stewart, there is no client too small or too large. Their expertise ranges from the single individual to the largest of corporations. Get your return prepared by a professional who will use their years of experience to ensure that your tax return's outcome will leave you in the best possible position. Call them today at 694-4184. Robson, Scribner & Stewart. They're there for you today. Again, that number is 694-4184. Time is of the essence, so don't delay. 694-4184.
It's Monday. Not sure how you did it, but you actually survived an entire 2 days without hearing from Tom. Good job to you. And once again, good luck.
Welcome back to Ocala Talks on a Monday. It is April 12th. It's usually 3 days before tax day. People are getting all concerned, but tax day has been extended now, so people aren't as concerned as they usually are about this. This 2 years in a row, Galen, that you hadn't had to freak out at April 15th.
That's true.
Hey, let's talk a little baseball. The Boston Red Sox, you claim to be the greatest baseball team on the planet. Boy, they're playing like it. They hadn't lost a ball game yet.
Yeah, I mean, only if you count the extended spring training that the Red Sox took with that opening series against the Orioles, but we don't really count that. That doesn't really count. That was extended spring training. They are undefeated.
Yeah. So, are they set up to run are they the best team in the AL East this year? Is it hands in a way, or the Rays going to make a run? I mean, the Yankees. Everybody always talks about the Yankees, but I don't follow the AL East as good as I should. But is Boston the team to beat?
Right now they are. I mean, they're won 6 straight games. They're hitting the ball out of the ballpark pretty consistently. J.D. Martinez is having one of those monster years. And conversely, the Yankees are off to a pretty atrocious start. I don't know. I don't believe that this Red Sox team is capable of winning, 100 games, and the Yankees are. So it's early. It's early, but it feels good to matter. I mean, this time last year, in a season that will never we should never talk about. I think the Red Sox were 1-8 or 2-7 or something after their first 9 games. So 6-3 feels good.
I will tell you a good story is my former roommate who used to live here in Ocala, but he sold his place here in Ocala, and he moved back to his hometown of Columbus, Georgia, right outside of Columbus, Georgia, actually. He has a computer-based television package. You know what I'm talking about? These streaming packages, right?
Sure.
And so I have the password, because he's got it for like 12 different devices. So I have a password. His dad has a password, right? So we're all using the same thing. So about 3 weeks ago, he bought a home in Columbus. And so when he set the TV up and everything in Columbus, he changed his address on the streaming service to the Columbus number.
Uh-oh.
So all the local news channels went to Columbus. So now I'm caught up with what's happening in Americus, Columbus, Auburn, Phoenix City, Alabama. I know what's going on up there, okay? But one of the other things he did, because it changed his address, is it changed his Bally Sports. And Bally Sports, as of last week became Bally Sports. It's the old Fox Sports regional channels. Now they're Bally Sports. But it changed his regional channels from being the Sunshine Network and Fox Sports Florida. It changed it to Florida. It changed it to Bally Sports South and Bally Sports Southeastern. Now, why is that a big deal for me? I don't need to know what's going on in Columbus, Georgia. It doesn't matter with the local news and everything. I get my local news right here. I can do everything, so I don't need that. But by switching from the Sun Network and the Florida Fox Network to the Bally Sports South Network, every Braves game.
Well, there you go. That's
every Braves
game. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
And being a huge Braves fan, that goes a long way. Goes a long way.
Yeah, and again, I do miss TBS covering, having.
Was that not the greatest? TBS built its reputation on the Atlanta Braves and Ric Flair.
That's true. That's true. In that order. And then they got into reruns later.
Right.
Yeah, and old movies, and you could watch the Three Stooges.
Oh, you can watch anything on TBS. Yeah. But TBS was 162 Braves games. And this, by the way, was in the early 80s when the Braves, if they won 60 games, it was a good season.
Ooh,
okay.
They made them into something.
Dale Murphy won the MVP 2 years in a row on a last-place team. What's that tell you, how good he was? Okay?
Well, no, it's because every game was on TV.
Well, that's what it was.
No other team had that.
Right. No other team had. And people don't forget this because you can watch everybody's now on TV. Back in the day, in the early 80s, you had WGN out of Chicago that played the Cubs games.
Correct.
Holy cow!
Not all of them.
Not all of them.
Not all of them.
You had WWOR, the New York superstation, that would show Mets games.
Yeah.
And you had TBS that would show Braves games.
Yeah, but WOR wasn't all across the country.
No, it was. It got picked up. WOR got picked up in like 82, 83 on all cable systems.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, you can watch it. With the advent of cable, and look, Channel 17, and that's what it always will be to me, Channel 17 in Atlanta that became TBS, the superstation, was a fledgling little TV station directly across the street from Georgia Tech. Okay, it's where kids that would major in stuff that was TV oriented, it's where they could go do their interns because it was right across the street from Tech. It was a do-nothing little hole-in-the-wall station that's only claim to fame was it was the mother station for Georgia Championship Wrestling. That's where Gordon Soley would make that trip, and people forget Gordon Soley was Florida Championship Wrestling, but really Gordon Soley was Georgia and Florida Championship Wrestling. He would film the Florida Championship Wrestling. He would film on Fridays. Then on Friday nights, he would drive to Georgia. He would film the Georgia Championship Wrestling. It would show on Saturdays, at noon in Florida and in Georgia. And that's what TBS did, is it was the studio, because they could get it for cheap, it was the studio that they did the wrestling in. So TBS, then Ted Turner buys this because of cable. Now he wants to see it as a big cable network. He goes, I got nothing to put on. Oh, yeah, do I own the Braves? 162 games. And then they put Georgia Championship Wrestling, which then merged with Florida Championship Wrestling to become World Class Wrestling or something. And then it eventually morphed into WCW that you knew that went up against WWF. But this TBS was built on the backs of a horrible baseball team and the nature boy, Ric Flair.
Yep, and don't discount Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream.
The American Dream,
as a part of that.
Son of a plumber. He's a son of a plumber from North Texas.
Gosh, I loved him. He was my guy. He was my guy. But no, you're absolutely right. And how upset are you with that call from last night?
Don't get me started. It's clear. Five different angles. It's clear his foot never touches home plate. How do you and here's the thing. I understand the umpire at the home plate bang bang call. You know, it looks like he's safe. It looks either way, because if he'd been called out, they wouldn't have reversed that either. But how do you have instant replay to get it right and you still get it wrong? I would rather not have instant replay in baseball than to have what happened last night.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I hate replay. I hate it. I do. I just hate it. I think it's bad for every sport that uses it. If people want to use it in the playoffs, I get it. But I think in the regular season, it just destroys the game. And last night, if you haven't seen that play, they have 5 different views, and you could see the exact same. And by the way, the referee reviewing it had the exact same call. It was like, I guess I just want to go home.
Yeah, because there's no way. It's clear his foot. You know how the NFL, they'll show you, and they zoom in with the super zoom, and you can see that there's a little piece of green grass in between the white out-of-bounds line and the foot, so it's clear. Last night, they zoomed in. You could clearly see his foot. You could see the entire side of the plate, which means his foot wasn't touching it. And they still called him out. They still called him safe. It was ridiculous. Hey, before we get going too far into that, I can't, because I'll get angry. I want to talk to you. The NFL draft's coming up. The spectacle that ESPN and the NFL has made this. I remember when, it was back in the day where you're like, oh, look, in the paper, here's the draft. That's how you figured out who was drafted.
Right.
But I came up upon this list of the biggest NFL draft bust of all time. And I want to go over it real quick with you and see if you agree with it. Number 10. I'm not real sure this shouldn't be in the top 3, but number 10. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers choose in the 1986 draft with the number 1 overall pick, Bo Jackson. Now, this is a Tampa Bay team that picked Bo Jackson, even though they know Bo Jackson says, I will never play for you, because he thinks Tampa Bay purposely screwed up his baseball eligibility to try to make him play football full time. So he lost his senior year of baseball at Auburn, and he fully blamed the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. To this day, he still does. How in the world did they draft this guy with what they knew? He had told them, no, you cost me my eligibility to baseball trying to make me a football player. Screw you. I ain't never playing football for you.
You got to remember, at the time, the Bucs had nothing to lose. They were terrible. They were going to be terrible. And by the way, it's not even their worst draft pick.
Why don't they trade the first overall pick? Because he's not coming.
They could have done that, but yeah. I mean, I remember it happening, and I had no problem with it at the time. They had to do something.
Well, the reason it's so great, these things, is your team's 10, my team's at number 9, and I remember this draft pick, and I go, really? Huh? I remember it was touted 1988. The first overall pick of the 1988 draft, the Atlanta Falcons choose outside linebacker Andre Bruce. And I said,
I didn't think that was why did you think that was a...
Because everybody was touting him as the next Lawrence Taylor. And I'm like, he can't get off the block of a defensive tackle on any down except the rush down. When you go back and look at films of him in college, first and second down, unless he was fanned out wide so he could get a good start, tackles ate him alive. I've watched the video. I've watched numerous times going, how the hell did we pick this guy number 1?
Again, that's another one I had no problem with. I at the time, they needed an edge rusher, and he was considered the best in the draft. Now, did they draft him too high? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, fine. Was he a late first instead of an early first? Fine, but you draft according to your team's needs. I didn't have a problem with it.
Number 8 on the list, Robert Griffin III, the number 2 overall pick in 2012 to the Washington Redskins. And, it says Washington here, but this is the Redskins. Here's my problem with this. How can this be a big draft bust? He won Rookie of the Year.
Correct. He got hurt.
Yeah, that's not a bust. That's just the NFL
not at all.
taking a guy out who, by the way, wasn't big enough to play the way he needed to play in the NFL. He was never going to last very long in the NFL.
Well, then you would say he was a bust, but I disagree. I think he had a great rookie season. Rushed for 1,400 yards or something.
Right.
And then he got hurt.
Right, because he got hurt because he got hurt because he's a $195 trying to run around like he's a 240-pound running back.
There's evidence of guys. Look at work done.
Yeah.
There's guys like that all the time that just know how to take a hit. And the way he got hurt, it was fluky. I don't have a problem with that. That to me isn't a bust.
Number 7 on the list, another team that just would not listen. The Colts draft number 1 overall in 1983. A guy who told them, if you draft me, I will go play baseball for the New York Yankees. And the Irsay family drafted him anyway. We're talking about Hall of Fame quarterback John Elway.
Well, that was just pure hubris. They could have. They really. Well, let me rephrase that. They should have traded that pick. I think that's what everybody thought they should do, except for them. So, I have no problem with that. That's a terrible choice.
Number six NFL draft bust. Bill Parcells.
And by the way, they did end up trading him, but got pennies on the dollar.
Right.
So
number 6 on the list, Bill Parcells' desire, because Peyton Manning had optioned back to Tennessee for his senior year. So the Jets' decision, Bill Parcells, the head coach of the Jets, decides to trade the number 1 pick all the way down to number 8. Ends up getting the 8th pick of the draft plus 3 second-round picks, none of which lasted longer than 2 years in the league.
Yeah, that's not good.
Now,
that's not good.
Here's the 5th one, and this guy, how this guy got drafted in the first round, and I understand talent outweighs, but this guy it was writing on the wall, just like with Aaron Hernandez. There was writing on the wall, this guy was a bad dude. Number 5, 6th overall pick, 1996 by the Rams, running back Lawrence Phillips.
Oh yeah, but they just drafted him too high. He was great for
But he was
a
bad dude.
Yeah, but the NFL is filled with bad dudes.
You're right about that. You're right about that.
I mean, look at it every day. Look, there are kids in high school that coaches take a flyer on, even though they're like, you're taking your life into your own hands here.
Yeah, there was a kid here. Why can't I remember his name? He played for North Marion. He played for Vanguard. John Brantley threw him off of Trinity's team. Then he went to Florida. He got to Florida, and before he could even get into summer practice, I'll beat his girlfriend, held her hostage. Justin.
Oh, I know you're talking about. Yeah. I
forget
can't
the
remember
kid's name.
It was too long ago.
Yeah, it was about 6 years ago, 5, 6 years ago.
Yeah, there's all kinds of evidence of stuff like that happening.
Yep.
Yeah.
Number 4 on the list. I'm sorry. Something very funny just happened outside the front window. I'm sorry. Number 4 on the list, quarterback Jeff George, the number 1 overall pick to the Colts. The Colts traded with the Atlanta Falcons. I remember this great. I was like, who the hell is Jeff George?
Why is this a bust?
Well, here's the thing. Indianapolis traded away 3 first-rounders and a second-rounder to get Jeff George. And 3 years later, he was with the Falcons, who got all those picks for them to trade up and get him.
I don't know why that's a bust, though.
For the Colts, it was. He was the first overall pick in 1990. By 1993, he's in Atlanta, and the Colts got nothing for him from Atlanta, and Atlanta got 3 number 1 picks and a number 2 pick just so they could trade up to get him, just so the Colts could trade up to get him.
That was more of a Colts problem than a Jeff George problem.
Well, that's what it says. It says the
guy
Colts
made the Pro Bowl.
Yeah. Oh, and was actually a pretty good football player with the Falcons. I mean, I don't understand the whole. We're going with Jeff George and Chris Miller. We're going with Jeff George and Chris Miller because Mississippi ain't that good.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with that at all.
No, I thought it was.
They just didn't use Jeff George appropriately.
Right, and he had. You know, he was the kid. What's the kid from Vanderbilt that played? He was Cutler before Cutler. Guy that was really
Different
smart,
player,
but Jeff George was really smart.
I understand what you're saying.
Had a powerful arm, cocky, you know. But you know, I still don't understand June Jones and Jerry Glanville going. That Jeff George guy and that Chris Miller guy, they're just so much better, heads and shoulders better than this Mississippi character. Let's trade this Mississippi character to Green Bay. He's not going to be anybody anyway.
That's fair. I mean, who knew Brett Favre was going to be Brett Favre?
He was just a fat drunk from Mississippi. He was a fat drunk from Mississippi his first year in Atlanta.
And he wasn't the same player that they traded.
No.
And then he got better coaching in Green Bay. Coaching matters in the NFL more than any other sport.
You mean that Mike Holmgren may be a better coach than the guy who left tickets for Elvis Presley at every game?
I did like
Glanville's great. Yeah. Okay, here are 3.
I like that whole coaching staff of Bum Phillips. That's what I was
these 3, the last 3, the top 3 are, in my opinion, the 3 biggest draft busts ever. Number 3, Purple Drank.
Russell.
Purple Drank. Jamarcus Russell, the number 1 overall pick, 2007 by the Los Angeles Raiders. Purple Drink, the Oakland Raiders at the time.
Let's be clear. The top 3, you could rank them in any order. According to how upset you are by it.
If you're a Raiders fan, this is the number 1 overall worst bust.
Absolutely.
Okay, number 2 overall.
Jamarcus Russell, last I heard, he had gotten arrested for something.
Purple Drink.
Yeah.
Number 2 overall. Now, this is number 2 on this list, but if you're a Packers fan, this could be number 1. The 2nd overall pick in 1989, a poster boy for Steroids R Us, offensive tackle Tony Mandrich.
Sports Illustrated.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And Sports Illustrated.
Yeah.
Let's not underestimate the power that Sports Illustrated had.
Tony Mandrich was they made him who he is. Sports Illustrated made him the monster he was, according to his abilities.
Now, in Tony Mandrich's defense, he didn't seem to be a bad guy off the field.
No.
He did play in the league for 7 years. Russell played for 2.5, maybe?
Right. Yeah.
I don't think Tony Mandrich has ever been arrested.
No.
So I think
but he is a poster child.
Money.
He's a poster child for why anabolic steroids don't necessarily mean you're really good at football.
Yeah, Lyle Alzado's out there for horse.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'll tell you right away. I went from 197 pounds to 228 pounds in 6 months, and it helped me play college football. I never shy away from the steroid argument because I did them. I'll be the first one to admit it. Equipoise, Winstraw, Deca, and Testosterone Test. I did them because they made me able to get a college education. So you'll never hear me say that I look down on someone for the choices they made to try to better along their situation. Was it cheating? Damn right it was. Did I do it really well? Got me an education. That's all I can tell you. So,
well, again, and I don't have a problem with some of that.
Number 1 on the list. And remember, this guy literally, it's been documented by the Indianapolis front office that they flipped a coin to decide whether to take Peyton Manning or this guy. Of course, we're talking about the number 2 overall pick in 1998 to the San Diego Chargers, Ryan Leaf.
Everybody wanted him to be something he was not.
Right.
he's that one guy you look at and you say, okay, where did and it wasn't, let's just be very clear. Everybody had them ranked 1A and 1B. And
right,
you could
everybody.
put them in whatever order you want. And I think Ryan Leaf changed the way teams draft. I think after that, Tony Mandrich was different because he didn't do anything off the field. But Ryan Leaf was a guy, nobody saw this meltdown coming. But you know what happened after Ryan Leaf? Coaches started going back and looking at his family life and how he grew up.
Yep.
You know, Ryan Leaf was a single parent child. You do not find single parent quarterbacks in the NFL or at high level colleges anymore because of that. There are exceptions, but they're very rare.
It is the biggest bust, in my opinion, that the NFL's ever had. A guy who
you could argue in all of sports.
Right,
when you
could.
Look at number one overrated, where there aren't injuries, where there aren't any other factors other than the player.
You could argue this was the biggest bust ever. But a good silver lining to this, it does seem like some, 24 years later, Ryan Leaf, who did some time in prison for opioids, he did some different things. It does seem now, though, I've listened to him in interviews over the last couple of years. I've listened to his podcast. It does seem that he's finally grown up and become a grown man, and he's in church now, and it looks like he's turned his life around to the positive. And I don't think that I would ever, 10, 15 years ago, I'd have thought he was a lost cause and could never be saved.
Right. Well, there's only, and I tell people this all the time, there's only two things that can change anyone, and that's God and pain. And pain didn't change him, but I really do believe that God did, because you're right, he has figured it out finally. After waking up on the, as he says, on the prison floor, wondering what am I doing?
Wonder what I'm doing.
And you got to hit literally rock bottom in order for him to change, and I think that's where he did it.
Yep. Now, real quick,
should have been on this one. What about Tim Couch? Should have been on this
Well,
list?
that's what I was going to say.
Lawrence Phillips.
Lawrence Phillips
Smith.
was on here. Achilles Smith was not. And why is it Brian Bosworth on this list?
Oh, that's right. Well, Brian Bosworth got hurt.
Yeah.
Brian Bosworth was great.
Brian Bosworth got run over by Bo Jackson. That's what he did. Hey, Galen, where's
but he got hurt.
Where's the Bloodmobile today?
Hey, today we're at the Walmart right there on 40, as if you're going to the beach, which I think we should all go to today. But please just get out there and get the Life Donate Blood. And welcome back, Tom. Welcome back to your back.
Thanks, bro. See you.
Bye.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
USA Radio News with Lance Pry.
Protests erupted against police when an officer fatally shot a man after stopping his vehicle for a traffic violation on Sunday. The shooting took place in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota. The police stop turned into an arrest when warrants were discovered on 20-year-old Dante Wright. A struggle ensued and Dante was shot and killed. Police say both officers' body cameras were recording during the incident. Governor Greg Abbott, the Republican from Texas, said Sunday that Republicans are not alone anymore when it comes to pushing back against the Biden administration's handling of the southern border. Last week, Abbott called the federal government to shut down the Freeman Coliseum in San Antonio, Texas, after multiple allegations surfaced of sexual abuse. Representative Henry Cuellar, the Democrat from Texas, also slammed the Biden administration. We have a new Masters golf champion. Japan's Hideki Matsuyama landed the green jacket with a 10 under par and takes home $2,070,000 for the win. USA Radio News.
Maybe you've heard about MediShare and you know what it is. It's the affordable alternative to health insurance, but you've wondered, can I really save a significant amount of money on my monthly health care bills? And the answer is an emphatic yes, you can. You could save a lot of money, whether it's just for you or for an entire family. MediShare has an option for you. In fact, the typical family saves $500 a month switching to MediShare. And it really is the gold standard when it comes to healthcare sharing. You get free telehealth services. You get a huge network of doctors. You get great customer support. And you get the sense